Okay, we're getting started with getting ready. And what is this about is getting yourself psychologically, financially, balance sheet, credit-wise ready. And this is what we're going to help you to do. But the first thing that is very, very important is that you do a real honest assessment about yourself and what skills that you bring and why do you want to get involved in real estate. You know, real estate, they say, is not for everybody, but it's for most people. But I would say that everyone have to deal with real estate in some form or another. You're going to have some place to live, work, play, pray, eat. Almost everything, real estate touches your lives. But a lot of people may not want to be a landlord. Some people, you may be a traveler. You may be very, very busy as an executive. You may like to participate in some of the real estate benefits, but the question is, how might you participate? And what is the very best way that fits your lifestyle? And we want to go over some of these things, but the main thing we want to do first is for you to do an assessment of yourself. So thus, in our Getting Ready book, besides a few pages on myself that I hope you find kind of interesting reading, we're going to get you involved into assessing yourself. So thus, the first chapter that we're going to do before you begin is self-assessment. So we want you to complete the self-assessment workbook to help determine how you're going to participate in real estate. And in doing this, we have a workbook. Now let's just go over some of the questions and so we can get a really good feel on what do we mean when we talk about self-assessment. One, why are you considering doing this? You want to help Detroit, you want to get rich yourself, you want to leave a legacy for your family. Why do you want to protect your income? Why do you want to become involved in real estate? Is it that you love real estate, that you need a job too? That's really good stuff. So why? Answer that question. And as you envision it, what do you see yourself doing? You got to imagine it in your mind first. And let's take, what tasks do you see specifically? Consider what your day is going to be like in real estate. 3 years from now, what are you doing? What do you see yourself doing? And then now that maybe starts with what personal skills that you have. What skills that you have that you can bring and what skills that you think you might need to develop. For example, you may say, I do not have a lot of technology skills, but I can learn it. I do not know Excel, but I can learn Excel. Because Excel spreadsheets are very, very important if you're going to be in a real estate income property broker or investor. You have got to understand Excel. You may not be perfect at Excel now, but that is something you can learn. And how many families and friends that can help you? What kind of business associates that you have relationships with? And think about other unique resources that you have that you can bring to the table. What would you say, do you enjoy people? Do you enjoy developing relationships with people? Do you enjoy communications? If you would rate yourself on your communication from 1 to 10, what would you come up with? Do you have good relationships right now with credit unions or banks? Do you know what your credit score is? If so, what is your credit score? Do you really know what your credit score is right now? And then in the future, what kind of major capital outlays do you have? Do you have children right now that's in high school? They're going to be going on to college? Right now is a great time to make that happen. And there's no better time to get real estate to maybe attach to a trust that can get them right through school. Right now, for literally pennies on the dollar, you might say, that you can take and finance their education expense. It may not be the full tuitions, but if they got $400 or $500 or $600 a month from 2 land contracts that you were able to negotiate and pick up for pennies on the dollar, that would defray a lot of that college expense. What is your outlay in the future? Do you have a reliable form of transportation? Because you got to have transportation to get around and look at these projects. And if you don't, what is your alternate form of transportation? We have a little saying here at Strather Academy that you don't have to have cash, credit, or collateral, but you have to have a commitment, a cell phone, a computer, and a car. Everything starts with a C, of course. You have to have a commitment, a cell phone, and a computer and a car with gas. Now, of course, having all these things, you will accumulate cash, credit, and collateral, but you have to start where you're at. And that brings us to what we call our 5 F's. Finding the deals, funding deals, financing deals, fixing deals, or flipping deals. No matter what your situation is, you should be able to do one of those. Let's kind of finish going through this self-assessment. Do you own a computer? If not, a cell phone, a smart cell phone in many cases is a computer itself. Have you ever bought real estate before? Did you get caught up in the Great Recession where you had a lot of it and you lost it? And your confidence is kind of shaken right now? Don't worry about that. We call it being baptized, that everybody needs to be baptized before. So if you've never bought real estate, are you ready to make that commitment? Or if you bought real estate and lost it, are you ready to jump back in? And if the answer is yes, then I want you to buckle up. I want you to buckle up. Now, so now that you've done a self-assessment of yourself, take an honest assessment, let's just really talk about that for a minute. If you don't have great communication skills, and not all of us do, you may not feel comfortable calling people up and talking to them about their real estate and trying to get information out of them and encourage them to do sales. You may not consider yourself otherwise as a great salesperson. You may be reserved, that kind of person, not outwardly going, but very smart and kind of personal-like. Researching is powerful. I am convinced that the reason we have so many vacant homes in our communities, almost one on every block, and not only in Detroit, but other areas too, is because people just do not know how to find the owners. They do not know the process of finding the properties and the necessary steps it would take to buy it, and especially if they don't have money. But if that's the situation you find yourself in, then welcome. I welcome you, because when I got started, I had no cash, credit, or collateral. It was just a burning desire. And that's what I want you to bring to the table, an open mind, a burning desire, and I have some juice that I want you to drink. Forget about what you've had. Drink my juice. McDonald's is all right. Okay, so the self-assessment, your personality will have to fit the kind of real estate. Let's talk about it just a little bit more. Suppose you're retired with a 401k. You say, Herb, I do not want to have to go over here trying to collect rent from tenants. That's the last thing I want to do. That's okay. So, but you say, I would like to buy real estate. Well, there are opportunities that you can make tens of thousands of dollars and 30 and 40% returns without having to collect rent. You could simply tie up property and flip it. You could take and buy property from the sheriff's sales for pennies on the dollar and sell it back to the homeowners on a land contract for half of what the original balance was, for half of what the original mortgage payment was, with the provision that if they do not default, that you'll take if they are not one day late, that you'll take $5,000 off their principal at the end of the land contract. Now, you may not know what I'm talking about, but I'm talking to you about factual things that you will be doing, that we will be asking you to do, and opportunities available. You can buy foreclosure properties for literally 5 to 10% of what the mortgage balance is. If you could deliver those properties back at 50% to the homeowner who may have had an unfortunate circumstances but now got their job back, or they was just well over their head through adjustable rates and all of that, it became too much, they can now reset. They can keep their home, because a homeowner who's been in the house 35 or 40 years, let's get it straight. They want to stay in the house. So rather than disfranchise them, kick them out, maybe you could provide the money to buy, sell it to them on a land contract, and incentivize them not to default. That's a great example of how you can get involved, for example, and not have to take and buy and collect rent. And you know what I do with those homeowners? I tell them that if they're never late, the last 12 months they don't pay. But in order to make sure that we do not miscommunicate, they have to put the money in my checking account. They have to go in my checking account, and guess what? I do not tell them the day to pay. They come up with that day. If they get a check on the 3rd of every month, don't tell me the 4th or the 5th, tell me the 10th. That'll give you plenty of time to get it in the bank. You may be out of town, maybe a snowy weekend. You got it, you got 7 days to get it in. Long as you get it in by the 10th, you will have a discount. And this is just an example of some of the things some of the things that you could do if you do not want to take and rent to homeowners. If you do not want to buy and rent to tenants, rental can be difficult. There's all kind of opportunities though, and we're going to get more so into these opportunities in our 3rd chapter. But I thank you very much for this phase of it. And our next phase is going to be our goal setting.